morning, everybody. Welcome to the Loan Officer Breakfast Club. It's going to be a fabulous day today. The primary reason that I think it's going to be a great day, obviously, would be for the simple fact that Kristen Simpson is in the house. Woo-hoo! Yeah, baby, yeah. That's what's making it a great day. She loves being spotlighted. I can't blame her. So, hey, we got Adam in. No, his name is Cross. Let's get that right. We got Cross in the house. Man, oh man, you slinging 18 deals this month. What are you, crazy? Out of your mind? How in the world did that happen? We're going to find that out real quick. Man, oh man, who else do we got here? Todd Claus. What's happening, Todd Claus? Man, I hope you're doing well this morning. It's good to see you, brother. It's good to see you, man. All right. Well, Joanne Johansson's here. I just want you to know, Joanne, that Steve Kyles is in the house today. So if you do mention, me and Carl, don't forget Steve this time like you did last time. Steve, you weren't here. You missed a mention. I just want you to know that. And,
Sorry, Steve.
Hey. Sorry,
bro.
Out of sight, out of mind.
What happened? What did I miss?
Well, she was talking about how great the club is and how great the people are, and you didn't get mentioned.
She didn't off everybody. Well, but one, if I remember right.
That's all right. That's all right. We're good.
That's all right. I privately text Steve.
That's right.
Did you make up for it? That's cool.
She did.
Right on.
How much Steve was really she had to say it about Carl, but really it was Steve. So
she wrote a book about Steve.
I almost screenshotted it and sent it to you, Carl, but I thought
it to me by mistake first.
All right. Hey,
have you ever sent a text to somebody and it was the wrong person?
Yes, I did that 2 days ago.
Oh my God. It was not just the wrong person, but the wrong.
I gotta admit, I've done it.
Hey, so quick flash poll.
Mm.
Do you, and before you answer, do you fess up? Do you ignore it? Or do you make an excuse that she's really just playing with them?
I mean, I don't know. Were you talking shit about the person that you sent it to?
Yeah, that would be bad.
On the context
that would be bad.
This is not the person I meant to send it to, totally. So do you ignore it? Do you fess up? Or do you make up a story? And I really meant to send that to you. Just see what I just fooling with you this morning.
Well, you can't ignore it.
Yeah, Sue Moody, of course, it needs more context. More context. Yeah,
you can ignore it.
Yeah. Hey, you know what I wanted to chat about real quick before we bring up Cross? Just as people are kind of flowing in.
What's that?
You know what? The gamification of things.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but on Call Stars, they have bingo cards.
Those are pretty awesome.
Are you aware of that, guys?
Yeah.
Let us know in the chat if you were aware of the bingo card thing that goes on. It is so cool.
It is.
Yeah. So yeah, Jen's going to show one right now. Look at that. She's just right on this thing. And yeah. So basically, as you're going through your Call Stars, you got the bingo sponge thing, and you can just kind of, you hopefully get a bingo. And there's objections in there, referrals. If you call the title company, I got an up yours. That's a good one.
Insta coffee. I like it.
Yeah. I said, can I count on you?
Got an up yours.
Got an up yours. Got hung up on.
Hey, can you imagine you've got them on? It's I just need an up yours. Give me a hard
need an
one.
up yours.
That makes it fun. That's the anticipation of making these calls.
Well, it is fun. You think about it, it's we're getting on these calls. We might as well have fun with it. You know what I mean? And if I can get someone to say up yours or screw off or don't call me again, it's right on. Got that thing. And people win stuff. Right, Jen?
Yep.
What do they win?
So we send the cards out on Mondays, and the first person to get a bingo messages me or Meg. And it kind of depends on what they already have, right? So a lot of people already have so far the winners, one of them got a LOBC t-shirt and one of them got a CRM t-shirt because they love CRM. Yeah. So it just
big stuff.
But whatever swag you already have, we'll figure something else out. Yeah.
Well, I just thought I just wanted to bring that up because let me share my screen too now, Jen. Sorry. Not my screen, but my sound. But yeah, I just wanted to bring it up because I just thought I just think it's really a cool, fun thing to do. And we had talked about gamifying, calls and gamifying things many, many times. If you and I just say this to you guys, if you gamify in any way to help, make it just more fun, making the calls, just let us know that you do in the chat and like kind of what you do. That would be cool if it's something outside of the bingo cards. But I thought the bingo cards was super, super cool. I mean, what do you think about it? Carl, do you know that was going on?
I did. Who came up with that? Who's the original person who came up with that?
Actually, Kenneth has one, and Kat Terry had one.
Yeah, I think Kat Terry is the one who helped kind of create it. So the first idea.
Yeah, so we were talking on Call Stars one day about ways to make it fun, and we talked about bingo, and Kenneth shared her card with us right away, and so did Kat Terry, and we were like, "Oh, that's fun. We got to do something like this."
The idea is, like, some of the squares are like, "Hey, I just gave this rebuttal. Like, they had this objection.
Yes.
And my little card of tricks, I gave this rebuttal." And so part of it is to help, make sure that you got the rebuttals. And we got the main rebuttals that you're going to, the main objections you're going to get are on there. And it's not just, we're great, I get to mark off the X, but now you know the rebuttal to it. And you can flip some no's or maybes into solid yeses. So it was a great idea.
Yeah. Hey, and someone asked, how do I get one? Show up to Call Stars.
Yep, I put it in the chat.
Yeah.
Every Monday on Call Stars. Yeah. And if you show up today,
A solo thing, by the way, like it's better. Like if we're on, like Steve, if you and I are on it together, and with the other loan officers, and I call an agent that was a listing agent on a deal like 6 months ago,
right?
And I do the old, hey, would you like to go to coffee? And they go, well, can we just do it right now over Zoom?
Yeah.
We call those Insta coffees.
That's Insta coffee.
There's something magical about like I would text, like I would in that little chat on Call Stars, because we're all on a Zoom like this and everybody's making their phone calls, and I'd put in the message, hey Joni, I just got an Insta coffee, and everyone go Carl. And it's just something, I don't know. I think doing something like a flock of seagulls. See, I threw that in there, like a flock of seagulls.
I wish I could. I don't have a sound effect for that, but I wish I did.
See, 70% of people on this call have no idea what I just referenced there. So.
Oh, I think there's a lot who do.
You know what I love about it is people, it's the encouragement, right? So you're putting on there, hey, I got 2 meetings. People are cheering you on. People put in there, got hung up on, got told to pound sand. People are then encouraging you. So you're not alone making these calls. It's the community coming together. It's my favorite thing. Yeah.
It's super cool, man. Super cool. Anyway, I don't know why I was thinking about it this morning, but I just thought it's such a cool thing. And I know about the bingo cards, and I thought that was so cool. It's just a really neat way to, again, Call Stars is just it's just MMA, Breakfast Club, Call Stars, such a great community, right? And to be able to come together with something as ridiculously awesome as bingo cards, right? I just thought was super cool. And I just want to make sure everybody knew about it, that it was out there.
With people like Adam Crosley is what makes it so special.
Yeah. That's right. In fact, wait a minute, Carl. I gotta do the music. I'm gonna bring him on.
And now it's time for our Mortgage Marketing Animal and Freedom Club members spotlight. Please welcome today's guest.
That would be Adam Crosley, otherwise known as Cros.
It's not just about having fun; it's about having results. I mean, that's what the bottom line is the bottom line. We can have all the fun we want to. If we're not having results, it's broke, right? But you're having some pretty impressive results, aren't you, brother?
Well, when you're getting results,
let's spotlight him first. We got to see him. So here's Adam Crosley, otherwise known as Cros. And we wanted to chat with you, brother, about just your crazy success and your crazy results. And I know we're part of the Alliance and the boot camp and all that stuff. So let's chat about it. So Carl, Steve, man, why don't you? I love the way you guys kind of get these conversations started. Go for it here.
Hey, well, you started the boot camp back in June, and then in July you did 9 units. August you did 9 units, and you've also joined the Alliance, which now moving forward, Carl and I are joined forces in.
Correct.
And in September you did 17. November I think it was 18, and about 18 this month. I mean, brother, great results from.
But here's that's impressive enough. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
But he's in upstate New York. rumor has it it's a little chilly this time of year.
Yeah. Hey, Carl, I thought nobody was buying houses. The markets are frozen over. Like,
I mean, I'm so upstate.
Carl,
I may be north of Chris at this point. I'm about 45 minutes south of Montreal. So
Wow.
Yeah.
So what so the biggest thing on having like literally doubling your business in 6 months, which is a fantastic thing. What would you say, what's the main thing that really moved the needle for you? Like if and I know it's a lot of different things, right? But
for sure, yeah.
a lot of different things. It's a few different things, but what's the like the top one or two that really moved the needle?
Action, really. I mean, in a word, right? I mean, getting really good and back to basics. I got in this business in 2008, grew my business through the 20 teens. 2008 was a great time to get in the business, but I grew my business through the 20 teens, took off during the boom. I built the foundations and the systems during then, so that when it took off, it took off. But when it crashed, boy, it crashed hard for me. And it took me a couple years to pick myself up by the bootstraps, so to speak. And I was actually I have a little farmstead, and I was building a greenhouse, and I was listening to some podcasts, and you were talking about the boot camp, Steve, and I was like, I got to get in on this. I just have to get back to basics. So in a word or two, Carl, I mean, that's really what it is. It's making the calls. It's making sure I'm getting face to face and doing appointments with agents. It's doing all the things that got me to great success before that I just quit doing, right? I mean, one of my favorite Warren Buffett quotes is, "You can really see who's skinny dipping when the tide goes out." And whether or not I realized that I was skinny dipping, I had gotten so lax, and I didn't need to work really. I mean, we were closing 30 deals a month, and I was working like 15, 20 hours a week because the business was just tidal waves coming in, and I stopped practicing. I stopped practicing, as a loan officer. I stopped doing the work that got me all of the business there. And then when it dried up, I didn't have any more results. And I went down to, just a couple of deals a month, and I knew I had the ability to grow. So I think that's one of the reasons why I've seen kind of, catapult success, is because I've already built it before, right? So, but I needed to do the work. My team couldn't capture it if the leads weren't coming in. So I just, we were joking in the green room here before we got on, I hired you guys to kick me in the tail, and I got back to the basics. And that's really what we're doing. And I mean, I think that it's really just a law, it's go ahead. Yeah.
What's your number one, number two source of leads? So for the leads that you close, where do most of them come from? And then is there a close second place?
Yeah, so we're about 45% realtor referrals, and we're about 35% past clients.
That's about right.
35. So 45 and 35 of what's the, I know it's a small balance, but what's the balance? Where do they come from? Just hodgepodge areas?
One more time. How do you mean?
So the 20% that isn't from agents or past clients.
Oh, yes. It's a little bit everywhere. Other business owners in the community, primarily that, a little bit of, advertising online, but primarily I would say hodgepodge.
Hey, I got a question, Adam. When you realized, hey, we got to get this thing going, what area did you focus on first?
Realtors.
Okay. So did you already have realtors you'd met with, or were you going after new realtor relationships?
So one of the things you talked about in the boot camp was really, make your list and, build your focus 40. And I got to say, I've been following the plan and Thor's Hammer for a while, but what I thought was Thor's Hammer wasn't actually Thor's Hammer.
Talk about that.
I thought it was have a list of 40 agents that you call on.
Oh, no.
And that's not it, right? It's have a list of 40 qualified agents that are actually sending you business in the last 90 days.
Yes.
And then have a Thor's Hammer list that you're prospecting, and then a post coffee list as well. And then when I broke those three lists out, I only had 8 people in my qualified agent list.
Yes.
Focus 40.
In my focus 40. And I, in my head, thought that number was very high, and it really wasn't. So I got back to work in building the relationships that I had let dry up over the last few years. And I think one of the other reasons we had so much success really fast was because I had already built the relationships before. I had let the weeds come into the garden, and I had to go in and tend it, and build that relationship and strengthen that relationship. But the foundation was already laid, the raised beds were already built in, if we're going to go with the garden analogy.
Yeah. Hey, and you know what, Adam, I think that's something to talk about, especially for the veterans on here.
Yep.
Sometimes when people hear Thor's hammer, it's like, I don't want to make cold calls. Well, the reality is for people that have been in the business a while, most of you, it's not cold calls. It's waking up old relationships or listing agents or people that are in and around your life that already know you that are qualified agents. So it's number one, directing and identify, are you qualified, and who are the people in the last 24, 36, maybe up to 5 years that we worked with. We could wake up quickly in the next 30, 60, even 90 days. And that's what you've done. And
that's exactly the advice, Steve, you had given me back in June, July. And that's what we did. I went back the last 4 years, made a list of every buyer's agent that we'd ever done. And just called them and went out to lunch with them and, got belly to belly, and those relationships took off.
Did you qualify them though first, right? Crosley, like you got the list of everybody, then you went through and looked at, well, who's actually doing the business? Like you don't want to.
That's exactly correct. And just to make sure that I'm focused on the best people, right? I mean, there's this one agent in my community. I get 100% of her business, but she only does 2 deals a year.
Yeah.
Right. So like, I don't spend a lot of time with Loretta because Loretta loves Adam. Like all I got to do is buy Girl Scout cookies from her daughter once a year, and she loves it, like,
you're in.
But there's other agents that are, they're doing 20 buy sides a year. Those are the ones that I got to spend more time with, and just getting back to old school basics. I think myself, and I think a lot of our community during COVID, we hid behind the phone, we hid behind email, we hid behind our computer, and going out and rubbing palms and getting belly to belly with people. I mean, we're humans. We're a species that loves to be around people. I think that's why this group has so much connection, is because we all get together every day. And I think when we can do that with our referral partners and our past clients, that's how we build relationships, and that's how we are the anchor point in our communities.
Adam, what's the size of your community? Like how many people live in your basic, 30 mile, 40 mile?
There's about 80,000 people in the county.
So relatively small, maybe.
Yeah.
Right.
That's my street has 80,000. So is most of your business in that 80,000, or do you reach out like to New York City or Rochester?
So my county is like, if you're looking at New York, and New York kind of looks like that, if you will, right?
Yeah.
I'm in this very tip top corner. Like my house is 6 miles from the Vermont-Quebec border. So one of your early pieces of advice for me, Carl, was to draw a bigger circle, because if I draw a circle, half of it's Canada, a quarter of it's Vermont, and a quarter of it's a mountain range. So there's not a lot of people in that area. So the majority of my business is in my backyard, but there's about 4 communities that are about 2 hours away that I call on.
And what percentage?
Probably 30% of my business.
So on that 30%, did you drive the 2 hours like once a week or once a month or kind of thing, or did you do
once a quarter?
Once a quarter. Okay.
Yeah. There's a great book, 7 Levels of Communication, that I read a long time ago. And one of the things they talked about in that book is appointment stacking. So I'll literally go out to those communities, like, every 60, 90 days, and I'll just meet with 4 or 5 agents, sit down at a restaurant and sit at the same table and, meet with agents back to back to back to back.
At the same time, in order. Like
that's correct. Yeah. So I like 11, 12, 1, 2, etc.
So Adam, knowing what you know now, over the last 6 months, looking back, what would you tell yourself in the beginning if you said, hey, Adam's going to ramp up, he's setting his mind, he's going to do the activity? What would you look back and tell yourself 6 months ago, knowing what you know now?
On top of doing what I did, I would have really prospected past clients.
Talk about that.
I went back and looked at as a whole. If I have an agent refers me a lead, that converts at 32%. If a past client refers me a lead, it converts at 65%.
Wow, interesting.
Wow.
So, and this is one of the cool things through the LOCRM. We're really analyzing everything. And it's really cool to see the different conversion rates and how everything is actually converting based upon broken down specific by lead source. And that's one thing that really, so if I was to do one thing over again in the last 6 months, Steve, I really would have pressed harder on past clients. And that's number one thing I'm going to be working on going into Q1 of next year.
Fascinating.
Hey, I've got a question for you too. What talk to us about the volume of activity to ramp up your business. Like, do you have a target number of outbound calls, a target number of appointments that you're having every week? Like, how are you measuring your activity and saying at the end of the week, I did exactly what I needed to do to achieve my goal?
I try and prospect for 2 hours a day.
Okay, so really are you measuring it? You're measuring primarily in hours, not necessarily number of calls.
Not number of calls, but really it's, because I used to be a numbers guy. Like, back when I was ramping up, my goal was to always have 100 conversations a week. And one of the things looking back on it from growing the business before to growing it again, I was really transactional before. And I was just, and yes, I love having 3-minute conversations, but also at the same time, I was in my head, I was playing a numbers game and I was like speed rolling through those conversations. And I would say most of my conversations are only 2 or 3 minutes anyway. But in my head, when I was focused on the numbers, I wasn't showing up as Adam. I wasn't showing up as Cross. I was really hammering through and just trying to get the goal done of the units, right?
Yeah.
You mentioned gamification before. This is something, Frank, I'll point out. I have 10 little green army men on my windowsill here. And on days that I don't want to show up, this is the game I play with myself. I just knock over army men until I get an appointment. And I'll tell you, like, that little game with me helps me, like, because there's days there's days you show up that you want to bang the phone, and there's days you show up where you're just like, dude, like, really? Like, and I think that we have to, as salespeople, play little games, whether it's bingo or whatever the game is with yourself. But yeah, I have these little 10 army men, and they make me do my job or they shoot me, right? I mean,
hey man, I got a question for you, Adam. So when we went back to the beginning and you were in the greenhouse and you were listening to a podcast, you said Steve, that's cool, I guess. But you're listening to a podcast, and then you had this decision to obviously connect, right, with Animals, right, Steve, and then you made your way into the Bootcamp, right, Alliance. How important is that piece of the puzzle, the community of getting together and joining in? You know what I mean? Because like some people might think, well, I'll just listen to podcasts and do what they say on the podcast, but not actually come in, and be part of the family, if you will. How important was that aspect to it?
So this isn't something I've shared, but one of my personal goals that I wrote last year, like this time last year, was I wanted to hire Carl as my personal coach. And Carl doesn't do that, right? And like in my head, I heard this and I was like, I just got to get action. I get in the boot camp and I get going and we get through the boot camp. And then the week after the boot camp closes, Carl puts this thing out. Hey, I'm going to start this alliance and I'm going to bring in 10 or 12 people that I can personally coach. And I'm like, that's my freaking goal. So I applied and I got in and Steve, Carl, both of you guys, I mean, it's been an honor to personally coach with you guys this year. But yeah, I think, Frank, to your point is, one, I'm just a big believer in putting it out to the universe. Like, I don't know how, what is it? Newton's third law, right? Like, for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. And I think if you put it out to the universe and you do the work, like the outcome will just appear. And I don't know how or what, but in my belief system, the outcomes just appear. Like, my goal was to get to 15 closings a month consistently. Because back when I was doing 15 closings a month, man, money was easy. Life was easy. My wife had the option to stay home. And like, that was my goal, was just to get back to 15 units a month. And I know that if I do the work and I do the things, all those things are going to happen. And, I've been very honored and blessed that by doing those things, they come to fruition. But yeah, I think you have to just know what you're going after. And when the opportunity knocks, jump.
What was the biggest obstacle you had to overcome, Adam?
The 6 inches inside my ears.
Yeah.
I took a big tumble, right? I mean, I'm a P&L manager. My branch in 21 grossed 2.2 million. In 23, I did 268,000. I went from a team with LOs and staff of 12 to 3. I didn't know how to handle it. I started drinking a lot. I've been sober for a little over 500 days now. And because I just was like, I was beaten up on myself. And, like I needed to decide that I could, because I had before, and I needed to stop kicking my own tail and know that I'm worthy and that I could and that I can. And so getting through past all these little demons inside of here and knowing that you can, I think that's the hardest thing. But I think that's why I like doing hard stuff, because it proves to me that I can.
Wow. Hey, Carl, real quick. Can we have Kristen kind of check at the chat and see if there's some questions in there that we can throw up? Or
I want to hear a little bit more about the greenhouse, because I know anytime I go in my greenhouse, I feel like doing crap, right? So I just like what to.
So I was building the greenhouse. It's funny. It's funny to say that, because I was building the greenhouse, but since I built it, every time I go in there, I just sit. I don't like ever do anything now. But I had to build the thing first, right, to hang out.
You know what that is, man? That's your afternoon walk.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, building the greenhouse.
Sure.
Yeah.
Or I love to strap on a tool belt, and Carl, you and I've jammed on this. I own a ton of apartments, and like that, building things for me is my solace.
Yeah. Well, my wife would like to get to know you. That's for sure. I tell you, Kristen, what's in the chat, real quick? Any questions we need to throw Adam's way?
I know we don't have a ton of time, but I'll just take one. There was one really good one. Eddie wanted to know, what did that conversation look like for you with agents that you may have neglected?
I'm gonna fall on the sword, right? I mean, and I would say they either fell into one of 3 categories. One, and this was probably the most of the people, they didn't. I mean, what's everybody's favorite topic, right? Themselves.
Right.
They didn't even realize that I stopped calling on them. They just were problem unaware that that it was literally all in my head. So that was probably the lion's share of the people.
Wow.
Secondarily, there was the people that I needed to apologize to. The really good relationships that I neglected and I actively fell out of. And those were the hardest, but I think by having that blunt conversation, like, hey, I messed up. I got a little too big for my britches. And honestly, I've wanted to call you, but I've been scared to call you because I didn't know how this conversation was going to go. But that wasn't a lot of people. I mean, that was just a handful of people, but you have that conversation with them and talk about a trust building conversation. They already know me, they like me, and they trusted me. I just had to regain that trust.
You know what, Steve? I think one of the hardest things to do is when we're doing well, right? And we think, well, I'm busy doing well. I don't need to prospect because now I've made it, right? I've done this. I've made it. And the thing that we've learned, and Adam, sounds like you learned it too, right? It's never a fun lesson. A lot of humbleness, humility comes into it, is that even when I'm doing well, I still prospect 2 hours a day. Yeah, but my team can't take any more loans right now, and I'm looking to get a prospect. I don't have prospect anyway. Like you can never turn that off, because it's like a freight train. Once you stop, it starts slowing down, and man, it takes, as you know, Adam, it takes some effort to get it back going again. But
it does, and I think that's the thing. It's because once it starts to slow down, it doesn't shut off. Like you can miss a day. And Steve, I think that I stole this from you, so credit where credit's due. Like you can miss a day, but you can't miss 2. Because we all have days, we all have things that happen, but you have to continue to show up. We are the leaders, right? We are, and if we're going to have teams and have people that need us, we can't take breaks. Like even if we do get our tail kicked, we need to show up the next day with a smile on.
Hey, I got one more question. So, and we just use national average numbers, right? So we don't talk about basis points on here for obvious reason because everybody's got different situations,
Yeah, makes sense.
different things. But let's say you average $3,000 per loan, right? Just say some
Fair.
more, some less, but just say. So even at 15, we're talking like 45 grand. Doing 18 or so, a little over 50 grand for the month. Dude, what does that feel like to make 50 grand or insert in number in a 30-day period?
Life's pretty easy.
Yeah.
I mean, we were talking about having fun before, right? Like there's not a lot of stress when you have that.
Yeah.
Right? Go ahead.
Just be totally open on something, and I hope this doesn't sound weird, but one of my favorite things is when I see my kids talking with their friends about their mom and dad and how proud they are of their mom and dad. And that's such a fulfilling thing. And if you've never had kids, there's nothing like it, like nothing like it. I guess the only kind of a close second is when your spouse or your mate or your partner looks at you with that great pride. That's my man. That's my woman.
Yeah.
I think there's nothing, that's my dad. There's nothing like that in the world. So congratulations, brother, for your great success. I know your family's proud of you. I certainly am. And a lot of great messages in your storyline, and I appreciate you sharing here today, man. So yeah, 50 grand upstate New York, that's big money.
Yeah, it's awesome. I want to get this in too, guys, because we're at the top of the hour. I just want to make sure, big part of Adam's move up, and increasing his business was the Alliance, the boot camp. We've got a link for you guys that Jen will throw in the chat. If you're interested, we're doing a webinar tomorrow.
Yeah, hey, let me say that, Frank.
Right,
Carl and I
go ahead.
are going to do a quick webinar tomorrow at noon Eastern, and it's the loanofficeralliance.com. So if you want to know the loanofficeralliance.com, the team will drop it in the chat. Carl and I are going to spend 45 minutes. We'll show you what it is. We have one class that's opening up the first part of January. So we keep it to a very small group. So if you're interested, just go register this morning. You'll get a confirmation and a reminder. But there's a handful of spots. I think we have, 10 spots left. But Carl and I are doing one January. It'll launch January 14th. So tomorrow at noon.
Which is
the loan office.
And if I may, guys, if you are on the fence and thinking about it, do it. I mean, literally, I would not be here today if I hadn't been in the boot camp and the Alliance. And if you're on the fence, like literally get in there. There's going to be a lot of people that are gunning for those seats. Write a story. Tell these guys where you are and why you're committing to it. And I mean, anybody can do it. I mean, my story is a very boring story. And I was joking with Frank yesterday. I'm like, guys, I don't want to bore you with my story. I just did the work, but if you do the work, the results will come. And honestly, having these guys at your back and having them, keep you in line is really what's needed to have ultimate success in 25, whatever your goals are. And I couldn't highly recommend their program more.
Nice. Thanks, Adam. So it's the loanofficeralliance.com. The loanofficeralliance.com's webinar tomorrow. So be sure to make that. We got Yolanda. You've been patient with your hand up. What you got before we get out of here?
I'm sorry, and thanks for taking my call. I just had a quick question. Several times he talked about being belly to belly with the agents, and I personally do more of Zoom calls. And I'm just wondering, is there any difference in success rate between people you have belly to belly conversations with and people you just meet on Zoom on the computer?
So I live in a very rural area, and the internet just arrived in my town during COVID almost, So I think belly to belly really means Zoom, or it just means face to face. In my area, and based upon where I was in my sphere, it just worked better to me to actually get face to face. But I think like a lot of bigger markets, in a lot of more urban markets and suburban markets, like take Steve. I mean, he's in Houston. If he's calling on somebody on the other side of the city, it's going to take 2 hours to drive over there. It just doesn't make sense physically, right? So I think Zoom is as good as like a face-to-face coffee appointment, but it's just your market and what's common and typical there.
Good stuff. Right on. Thanks, Adam.
Hey,
Adam,
Adam. One last thing, Adam. Shameless plug, buddy. Who do you work with? What company you work with?
Crown Home Mortgage.
Great group of people. They were kind enough to invite for Kevin and I to be invited to come one of their last gigs, and just a great group of people. So, and I know you're a leader in that organization, and you're much humble.
Yeah, if you're in the Northeast and you're unhappy with where you are, my email is Crosley, ACROSLEY @CrownHM. If you guys want to have a conversation about setting goals, and I run the coaching program internally for our company. If you guys are struggling with where you are and you need a plan, please feel free to shoot me an email.
Bring your space heater. All right. So, hey, Adam, do you got a Loan Officer Breakfast Club t-shirt?
I do not.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do, my friend. Thank you so much. Congratulations. You have really reached the pinnacle of mortgage origination now, my friend. You think you're doing okay now? Oh, you just wait now, my friend.
Do they come in lumberjack size?
If you could make them in like a red and black plaid, that would be amazing.
That would be awesome.
All right. Hey, Adam Crosley, everybody. Hey, man, thank you, Cros. Man, that was really great. We super appreciate you, man. And we'll go ahead and get on out of here. You guys have a great day, man. Join us tomorrow. It's the big giveaway, the big LOBC giveaway tomorrow.
Let's go.
Must be here to get it. All right, you guys have a great one, man. Thank you, Adam. Thanks, everybody else. We'll catch you guys later here at Loan Officer Breakfast Club. See you. Take it easy. Bye-bye.